Hello folks, my name is Michael and I'd like to show you a few key differences that I discovered between the Vikings Blade Chieftain that I purchased in 2018 and another one that I bought quite recently in 2024 when the original product began having some issues with its internal mechanism. As you can see, both arrive in a very similar looking cardboard box. There's some differences in the printing, but other than that, they're relatively similar. And then once inside, you'll still find the same travel case um, made out of some sort of covered cardboard material, actually. Very similar. Again, there's a magnetized closure in the front, a mirror on the inside. I'm not sure what it's good for. Some instructional paperwork in here, mostly seemingly targeted toward beginners. Again, slight difference in printing, but otherwise not much different. I will point this out. The case I bought in 2018 is still quite intact. If you look closely, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this on camera or not, but there's no discernible edge on that mirror that is in the lid. If I work hard enough, I can find it, but it's fairly well inserted. And as you see, the border material going around it is still intact after 6 years. I've had this one for about 2 weeks. First off, you can very clearly see that the mirror is simply laying inside of the lid. There's very clearly a discernible edge. It's not on center, and the border is already delaminating and coming away. It did this by itself. I've actually pressed it back several times, and it just keeps coming off. Rather superficial, so let's get to some key differences. At first glance, the razors do seem almost identical. Similar in size, similar handles. Oh, the heads do not look similar. The older model has a pretty beefy looking safety bar, whereas the newer one is much smaller, and whereas the older safety bar has a nicely rounded bottom edge, the newer model does not. It has an edge that if you happen to roll the razor while you're using it and drag this part across your skin, it's going to feel almost like a second blade. The head mechanism itself has changed. In my opinion, not for the better. Notice that I don't know what this is called, the bay doors, the crown, what have you, while they're similar in their printing, they are dissimilar in size. The older one is just a little bit, larger this way. I don't know if you call that length, width, depth, what have you, but it seems just a little broader than this. Here's where it really begins to get different. The mechanism on the older model doesn't have anything that protrudes or shows beyond this safety bar. It's a feature that I particularly appreciated, especially when I saw this one, which has these L-shaped pieces of stamped metal that, once you've loaded your blade and closed the doors, come down and protrude from beneath the safety bar. Now that wouldn't be an issue if the safety bar was still big and came down farther. But now, if you can envision, if you're using the razor and for any reason you happen to roll it without taking the razor off of your skin, you're going to feel this edge, two edges actually, going across your skin. Not cool. Not cool at all. Please take a look at the doors themselves and notice that originally those I'm going to call them bay doors, I don't know what else to call them, the butterfly opening is flush with the base of the head assembly. Okay, now they curve inward and are considerably narrower than the head assembly. What difference does that make? Well, I'd like to show you. I just happen to have a Vikings Blade razor blade here. I'm going to put it into the older one. Notice how it sets very nicely, and there is exceptionally little play in the base of that head assembly. When I close it, there's nothing showing on the sides here. Okay, I have the blade where it's supposed to be, and if for any reason this side rubs against anything, nothing happens. I won't feel a thing because the blade is properly covered. On the newer model, a couple of things happen. One, there's all kinds of play. The blade has a lot of room to play while it's setting on the base assembly. The base assembly itself has play in it. I'm not sure what the reason for that would be, but I can tell you that when you close the doors, the edges, the side edges of the blade protrude outward. Now they're not sharp, but if for any reason you are shaving sideways and passing under your earlobes or the underside of your jaw, I promise you, you're going to feel this and it's not going to be comfortable. Please notice that as I close the doors to this razor, I wasn't pushing one way or another, but the blade's not on center. It's off this way. I can't tell you why. I can't tell you why they would allow that. There is that much play. I can close it, and if I just tap it a little bit, it was just by chance that it had more sticking out on the other side. Now it'll have more sticking out this way. If I begin playing with it, trying to center it, and for some reason, don't do it quite right, I can even get it to be slightly diagonal. I don't know if you can see that very well, but the blade on this side is protruding farther than the blade is on that side. The same thing, of course, will happen on the other side of the razor. That's a safety issue, as far as I can tell. Not cool. Not cool at all. These are the key differences, and that last one is primarily why I've decided not to use the new model, the latest model of the Chieftain that I've purchased. And I will be returning it. It has, in my opinion, what are either some design flaws or outright defects with regard to how much that blade plays around. It's a real shame because I was a really big fan of the Vikings Blade Chieftain for the last 6 years until I began to have difficulty with the inner mechanism. And bought this one. Now, I'm not too choked up about this one at all. There you have it, folks.